Dexa day. I want it to be a Dexa day. It's my favorite day of the year for Kindedge.com, Kindedge 360. It's my check-in for myself to see if I'm doing things right in a data-driven way with my Dexa Scan. So let's talk a little bit and you can come along with me for my annual Dexa Scan. Let's go. Today I'm doing my annual Dexa Scan. This is not the Dexa Scan that your doctor prescribes to just check your bones. This is a private, self-paid fitness, lean mass, fat mass, everything data-driven measurement of what is true. And in Kindedge 360, so anytime you're trying to achieve a big life goal, personal growth, career change, start a charity, start a business, get a divorce, whatever it is that big change is, it's a war. It is a battle against everything else and everyone else in the world who wants your time and your energy. So even if you're doing something like, I just want to write a book, you will realize that getting physically fit, mentally fit, soulfully fit, systematically fit is the foundational piece that's going to unlock all of the big goals that you want to achieve. You cannot go into something emotional without being physically fit. You literally have to have your blood sugar managed, your emotions managed, your fitness managed. You need to be physically strong and fit and everything to be able to get through the days and to make that a sustainable long-term journey, even if you're just working on something internally personal growth and emotional. So it all is connected and you have to start with the foundation to really have the ability and not have those invisible barriers hit you in the middle of your big goals. Right down to, let's say you want to give a talk. You have to be physically fit to be able to manage your breathing, to not get too nervous if you're giving a speech or a talk. Everything is connected. So every year for the past handful of years, sorry, I'm walking my dog, so sometimes my hand gets pulled by, say hi to Donovan. Let's see, can I do this? Hi Donovan, hey bugaboo, hey bugaboo. So all of these things are connected and you've got to be building the foundational blocks because if your body checks out on you, that's the only machine that you have to depend on. You only get one machine per life. So you got to keep your body wanting to get all the other things done on top of it. So annually, my boys and I go to a Dexa Scan. My boys are adult young men, very physically fit. Right now, my older son is in the UK doing his amazing F1 motorsports career. And so it will be today just me and my younger son, who happens to be studying this type of health and medical fitness physiology type of stuff in college. And so we have always gone on this annual Dexa Scan. We get a total read on our lean mass. We get a total read on our fat mass. We get a view of what parts of that is in your organs and in the outer parts. I mean, you get it down to you get a visual map of your body. What is organs? What, visceral fat. You get every bit of detail and then you get it year on year. And since I'm over 53, it's absolutely critical that I am building. So I have to be building muscle in order to even maintain muscle. And if you don't maintain muscle, this is what happens. You trip and fall.
Guys, look, we made it to Tampa.
Okay, so we're back from the Dexa Scan, and we had a great time. Luke and I always have a good, funny time. And Donovan, hello, buddy boy. I know you have to be on camera all the time. So it was great, and it's so much fun. And especially doing this year on year, we are able to see the trends. And I know I was doing weird things last year. I can definitely see that I like what I'm doing this year more than last year. Donovan is going in circles here. You see this tail? He's just circling here. What are you doing? So, yeah, so I like what I'm doing this year because guess what? Even though I'm getting older, I increased my lean mass, which anybody who's being healthy and low carb like me, there's a fine line between being so low. You know, I do intermittent fasting, I'm low carb, and I watch my health. But the prior year I lost lean mass, even though I was working out really hard. So that can be a bad sign, and a sign that you're not kind of maintaining the muscle growth phase enough through the way you're eating. It's this phase of mTOR versus AMPK. It's not, I'm not a doctor and I'm not a researcher, so I'm not going to advise you on these things, but you want to balance out. So I like to balance out the fasting portions. I also like to let my celiac stomach rest for a lot of hours. So I let my celiac stomach just rest for a good 18 to 20 hours a day instead of having to work on digestion so much. But it is nice to know that while last year I did some experiments, I was very, very carnivore, very, very low carb, and I was also doing, in order to kind of like try to get a lot of everything and the muscle mass, I was doing two things. So I was doing my carnivore snack at night was these like mega fat bombs, like just pure fat. And it was a nice way to get electrolytes because it would be like a salty kind of thing. But in the end, I think it wasn't serving me well for the balance of lean mass versus fat mass. And then the other thing I was doing is I was taking certain amino acid protein or powders at night. And I've stopped doing that. I've just kind of had my meal now this year. I have my meal. It's high protein. I kick it off with a certain amino acid. So when I have my meals, there is one amino acid amidst all 20x amino acids. There's one that your body says, if there is more than 2 grams of this in a bolus in the beginning of the meal, I understand this is a plenty. This is a meal of protein where I can do the most expensive thing that nature would ever do, which is grow muscle. So nature wants to conserve to survive first, and to grow muscle is the most luxurious and expensive thing. So to let your body know it can do that, to know that it's a time of plenty, there's one amino acid. And if you're one of these geek people, you'll know what this amino acid is. So last year I was ending after the meal, almost like as a dessert, having this protein thing, but it was a mix of certain amino acids. But while they were considered to be ketogenic amino acids, meaning non-sugar inducing, they're not the glycine that you would think is just like kind of the more glucogenic, apparently some of these supposedly ketogenic, non-glucogenic amino acids were driving a glucogenic response, like basically potentially driving up my insulin and that kind of thing. So between having these fat things, these fat bombs essentially at night, and then those certain essentially glucogenic amino acids, I think what I was doing was telling my body to drive up insulin and grow, store fat at night, which probably wasn't good. And then I don't think I was really serving myself that one special secret amino acid before my meal in order to let my body know this meal is a large meal of protein. You can store it as muscle. You can use it for repair and muscle hypertrophy. So this year I totally modified it. I skipped the evening amino acid powders, like the whole thing. And I just said, with my meal, I'm going to kick it off with that one trigger, that one marker that your body looks for to say, is this a meal of a plenty of protein? Did we just catch a tiger or catch a lion, and you're going to eat this whole lion? So I now trigger my meals. So I really can see that when I eat my high protein meal of the day after fasting, and I do it after working out, so my muscles are telling my body, yes, we are hungry for growth and repair. And then if I say, do we have enough nutrient, I give this trigger, this one amino acid, that is the trigger to say, yes, body, we have a plenty. We have more than enough. This is not a time to conserve. This is not a time for autophagy. This is a time to build. Take this and go. Do the most expensive thing. We're going to build muscle, which is something your body would never voluntarily do. So I think this is working, because this year my data says I grew, as a woman over 50, I grew muscle mass. And I bet my son in the car when we were on the ride there to the Dexa Scan, I bet him, I said, I'm going to bet there's going to be 1 pound of growth in my rear end. And I got that. And it was because some of the exercises he showed me and some of the other ones I added. And I've been doing that this year, and I wasn't doing that the prior year. And so I have a 1 pound extra of lean mass in my rear end. And then overall, I have more total lean mass by several pounds, which is incredible, again, for a woman my age. And so I'm doing the right things between the weights at the gym, the very strenuous power yoga, where it's basically, power yoga is like push-ups and crunches for an hour. It's tough. And then the ballet with the weights on my legs, and then doing all the other things to just keep moving with a little cardio and that kind of thing. But cardio isn't going to keep you strong, the strong bones and the muscle mass you need in order to really survive long term in aging, in the portion of life that we call aging. And so I think it's incredible to have the data, because I have changed my behavior every year for a good 6 or 7 years. I've changed my approach and my strategy. And the thing that women my age get warned of is, if you're trying to be too lean, you're going to end up losing muscle and not fat, or you might lose more muscle while you lose fat. And so for me, I've found a thing that's working, and so I'm going to keep along this thing. So so this is great data, and as the whole Kindedge 360, when you're building the foundation to have the energy to do tough things, the energy to do the great things you want to do, the energy that you need to have the tough conversation with an attorney, the tough conversation with an employer, all these things, you need the core foundation of mind, body, soul, systems, data, not kind of what you think, but actually data-driven information to help you make sure you've got the foundation to do all the other great things you want to do. So I have found that that's magical for me. Any tough time, and I went through a lot of tough times that I've talked about in my past videos, and I truly think I didn't fall into
So this is so cool to see. In this bone density portion of the measurements, they've got the details where year on year, I can see that my bone density's actually improved, and you can see that the average bone density will decline. And if I continue to fight it with the trends that I'm doing with heavy, strenuous exercise, not just cardio, but doing hard, strenuous exercise that will drive the wonderful nutrients I consume into my bones. It will make my bones hungry for dense nutrients. I can fight the trend and maintain great muscle mass. So then, along with my strong muscles that will prevent me from having a hip fracture fall, if I do fall, there's a good chance that I won't have that broken hip. And that broken hip that you get generally in older age, you break a hip, 30% of people who break a hip die within a year. Because of complications and a decline by not being able to be fully independent and mobile. And so if you want to avoid death, a rapid death, make sure you're looking at your bone mass, you're looking at your muscle mass, and you're maintaining your ability to be agile in a fall, and you will be indomitable. That's a superpower.